thought I was going to start this differently, but I'm not. Hey, y'all, it's your homegirl, Ronnika. And welcome back to the Please Do Tell podcast. I'm recording on February 1st, 2024. So that means I would say it's the month of love and Black history, but I love both of them because I love and I love Black History Month. So we are going to get right into the stories, but I wanted to tell you all a little bitty story of what happened 2 weeks ago. So you all know that I recorded the last episode on my birthday. The next day, I woke up like someone had just steamrolled over my body. By that Monday, I knew that I had COVID. So your girl was down. I'm happy to be out of the house. I'm happy to not be fatigued. I'm happy to be breathing better on my own. I'm happy to just be here in front of the camera, in your ears, with all of you. Because, listen, it was scary. Even for someone that's been vaccinated and boosted, I still was down up and through there, and it was the polar vortex, so we had an ice storm, and I was in my bed like, Lord, just let me get through the weekend. Just let me get through this week. Just give me the strength to just keep fighting. And it was also, y'all, it was a lot of me in meditation in the Word, because if you don't know, I am a believer of Christ, and I'm definitely a follower of Christ, have been all my life. And it was a lot of me getting into that Word, chewing on it, falling in love with the Word that I was receiving. So that was I think COVID was actually a blessing in disguise. I don't know, it sounds really weird. Like, why would you say that sickness was? It was a time for me to sit down, reflect, and really talk to God. Like one-on-one, like what are we doing? What I know February is coming up. You know that I have this campaign, this launch that I'm trying to do. Why would I get sick now? And the Spirit clearly said to me, you haven't been taking care of yourself at all. My immune system was compromised, and that COVID snuck right on in there. I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, especially the weekend that I was in Chicago with my hot beats, which they even saw me. They were like, wait a minute. Okay, we're now forcing you to eat something. I didn't have an appetite because I hadn't been sleeping. So I think more than anything, it was for me to sit down and focus on this season of my life that God has me in, and it's to completely focus on Him. I gave you these gifts, and I need you to be well. Like, yeah, I talked about, oh yeah, last month I lost this weight, and I still need you to be well. Because I've seen time and time again, we equate obesity with not being well. No, it's when you're losing weight or when you're small, because I've seen in my father as well, being a tiny guy, is you still have to take care of yourself. It doesn't matter. Take care of yourself. So that's just what's been going on the last 2 weeks. I wasn't really active a whole lot on social media, or if I was, people were like, oh no, I didn't even know you were sick. Yeah, it's called content. It's called content. I can't be I'm not in Philadelphia 1 week and then California the next. I mean, I would love for it to be that way, collecting stories, but right now, God is telling me to slow it down because you have some things. There are some dreams that I've put in you. There's some gifts that I've put in you that I want you to execute. And so we're going into that. Today, being February 1st, is on all social media. If you see Story Salon, the Retracing Their Steps launched officially today. So my ancestry story. So it's really my stream of love letters for my paternal side of my family. You'll see some of my maternal sides step in too, but my dad's mom's family story. And I rode by, I don't really ride by the family home too much because sometimes it used to be a little triggering for me. But as I'm looking at pictures, as we were actually picking pictures, it was because I have a crew. It's a team of us that were going through the photos on Tuesday. I had to really think like, man, my dad buried 4 family members in 3 years. His mom, his sister, his brother, and his dad. And then my dad passing 14 years after, I would say, that string of deaths. And then now it's biologically through his mother and his father. There's one person left. And just reflecting on that gives me the motivation to tell these stories even more. So again, Retracing Their Steps is my ancestry story. Is really a love letter to my ancestors, and really something that can be used for Black history, because I mean, it's my history. So it is ultimately Black history, and it's the great migration story of my family. So when you all get a chance, go out there, find it, engage with. I'm seeing when I was sick, I'm seeing people that were commenting, and I didn't get back to you, but I'm gonna get back to you today, because I was definitely looking like, oh yeah, when I was sick, I missed a few comments. So I'm definitely going to be engaging with you. But thank you for the many people that have started to follow and engage with us thus far. And don't forget to tell a friend. Okay, all right. So with this month being really also the month of love, I wanted to talk about my love language. My love language is words of affirmation, and the second one coming in is quality time. But words of affirmation, like even when I was saying that, the love that I was receiving and reading with the word, and even the podcast that I was listening to, that's my love language. Words of affirmation, words to keep me going, words that motivate me, words that inspire me, words that I can share with others. Like I even find myself this week, or even before I came in the studio today, I was telling my friend, girl, listen to Maximizing the Moment. We got to get on this project. We got to do this. We got to do that. Because that word is so sweet to me that I had to share with others. And I hope that you feel the same way about your walk that you are on with your faith as well. But I want to tell you why, or I'm going to start with a story that I'm going to read, and then I'm going to go into where I'm at right now when it comes to love. So if you are new here, my father passed on February 13th, 2013. And for me, I knew that Valentine's Day would never be the same. So this is actually an article that I wrote, or a blog post that I wrote back in 2014, so 10 years ago, when it comes to Valentine's Day. So I said, my V-Day will never be the same. And back then I was saying I'm finally okay with that. But I don't know if I was okay with it back then. I don't know. Okay, so let me start. I haven't been in an airport around this time of the year since 2013. I can remember being in the airport and looking out the window trying to figure out what was going to become of my life after I landed. I knew that I was going back to a familiar place, a place I called home. Ronnika, you must tell your story. Be transparent, they said. The only way to know it's authentic is if you are able to share your story first. Well, the Final 48 project began with me, a young woman from Ben Harbor, Michigan, who wanted to find a way to deal with losing the first man I've ever loved, my father. This journey of dealing with grief has not been easy. I still have moments when it feels surreal. I spent the last moments of my father's life apologizing for past mistakes, reflecting on fondest memories, and watching him fight for his life until the very end. There were some days that I questioned God. Yes, I had the nerve to question God. I asked God for signs that I missed, as if they would help with the closure of losing my dad. I asked for signs as if I could warp back in time and change something. Silly me, right? Should I have said, I love you more? Why didn't I finish grad school before he passed away? Why did he keep his illness from us? His illness was his journey and his battle. There's nothing I could do about it. He fought like the true soldier that he was. I came to the conclusion that my actions can outweigh any verbal exchange of affection. My dad taught me that. Even though it was very difficult for him to say I love you, he was able to show it in many different ways. His death motivated me to finish grad school with honors, write a children's book series, And one more thing. Oh, yeah. This interactive documentary called The Final 48 Project, a platform to unpack our grief. Everyone is not given the opportunity to share their final hours with a loved one or close friend. So I wanted to create a way to honor that person in a unique way. Over the next couple of months, I will introduce you to our campaign. I've partnered with some amazing people and excited to bring this project to you. Welcome to the Photography Love Letter series for the Final 48 Project. Even reading that, I don't think I've read this post in years. As I talk about love today. So I want to talk to you all about what I've seen as far as symbols of love growing up. There is one quote that I don't know if it's actually a quote, but I was at a picnic, maybe it's probably a couple years ago. And I was talking to Miss Ronnie Buckley, and we were just, it was some young couples out there, and she was just giving some advice about what it's been like being, I think it's probably been over 40 years that they've been married. And she said, when you get married, just know that not only are you signing up for love, you are signing up for heartbreak. I said, wait a minute, stop. No. She said, no, think about it. She said, someone is going to exit that marriage first. I said, what are you telling me I'm signing up for? She said, you're signing up for the possibility of one of you all leaving this marriage as a widow or in divorce. But just know either one, it's heartbreak. And I think about that often. I think about it even coming up with the anniversary of my father's death. And even though my parents have been separated for years before my dad passed, my dad has always, even when he was in his sick bed, he's always identified my mother as his wife. Not once did I ever hear, even when my dad was, dating other people, he never said ex-wife. Ever. I can remember being with my dad. I can remember being just in the house with my dad. We were just talking. We were talking about love, and I was talking about who I was dating, and because we would have conversations like that. I was very transparent with my dad. I would tell him a lot of things, and I said, "Well, do you think you'll ever get remarried?" He said, "No." Previously, he had said, "Oh, maybe one more time. I don't know, maybe." But this particular time I asked him and I said, you would never get married again? And he said, no. If I wanted to be married, I'd be with your mother. And I was like, So, I'm over here wondering like, well, why didn't it work? And he said, that's not important. It's that I was with your mother. I built this family. I will always love her. Always love her. I will always respect her. But sometimes things don't go as we planned. So even when I think of my own journey with love and looking at things differently, and even the passage that I read to you all today is that, and then some conversations that I've had in some group chats here lately is, I've been afraid of that heartbreak. The realization of I've operated in a space of I don't want anybody to get that close to me. this is probably the most transparent I'll ever be with you on this podcast. But the awareness of me saying that I have ran from love because my thought was, I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. And I don't think we even talk about that enough. I can talk about how, some guys can even say to ladies that you're a daddy's girl. Your dad does everything for you. No. My dad raised by a great man with a big heart. My dad raised his children to be independent. His love taught us, his love and his guidance taught us that when I'm gone, you're going to have to figure out how to really get to the bag on your own. But when it comes to love, I've had a lot of people even ask me like, oh, you've lived in different states. You lived across the country. And in each one of those states, I left someone that I loved. Each state. I walked away. Whether it was a friendship or a guy that I felt like I was really in love with. I mean, it was a couple that I was, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, there was a few I loved. But there's also this idea of love. Like this is going to look right. This is going to feel right for other people. It's not going to feel right for me. That's another reason why I was leaving as well. But this month, since I'm talking about love, I have to be really honest with why haven't I chosen it for myself? Last month I attended 2 weddings. One of my closest friends, Terrell and Tatiana, and then one of my best friends' aunt. I was my first day out of the house after COVID. I took some pictures for a wedding. Shout out to Johnny and Kim. And it was not only their love that I was celebrating, it was the love of these families coming together. Like it was no like ew. It just felt like, oh, this we've been waiting on this to happen. We've been waiting to celebrate. You all doing it your way. But just last month I was able to witness love twice. So in my group chat, we were just kind of talking about last night. We were sending like voice notes until I kind of drifted off to sleep because I'm usually always the first one to go to sleep. That's probably why I'm going to do not ready for bed today. I'm usually always the first one. But one of those friends said, girl, you're impatient. But not once did I tell her that I have walked away from every relationship I've been in. As now that I'm even like reflecting on it more and more, I think about how I'm so much like my father, so much like him, that I have gotten to the point where it's like someone had to tell me that I don't say I love you enough, like I had to tell my father that you're not telling me I love you enough. How do I display love? I've always said my love language are their words of affirmation, but they're my love language. I love hearing words of affirmation, but am I exactly putting it back out there into the world? Especially when it comes to love. I have many classmates and even friends that have been married, been divorced, had children, widows. But I see them. I see them getting back out there and like, oh yeah, yep. I'm gonna fall in love again. I'm gonna do it. Or even Lori, when she said, you know what, I wasn't ready a couple years ago before I met my husband. I was not ready. She said, I know God gave me a test when I was living in another state and I failed it. And all I could think about for myself was like, man, how many tests of love have I failed? We see the many podcasts that pop up and they're talking about relationships and men versus women and doing all of this. But it's like, no, a lot of us haven't healed. A lot of us haven't done the work in order to receive love. Now I can have some deal breakers. I'm big on teeth. I love teeth. I will look at you and be like, oh my gosh. Their smile just lights up a room. Now, if you're missing them, I'm going to be like, what happened? I get a little scared. And that's just me being, you my homie, so I'm being honest with you. I'm being completely honest with you. So when it comes to things that I find love in, or I find love in the color red, I find love in a nice smile, I find love in being patient with me, because it's going to take a minute. But I think more than anything, it's being real with myself, is that I have walked away from love time and time again. Time and time again. I see these guys that I've dated, I'm like, oh, they're married with children now. Okay, good. Maybe that wasn't for me though, but good for them. Now, once was I over here advocating for myself to have the same thing as, and then I was thinking, like, do I really want that? Do I really want that? I think everybody wants and deserves somebody. Companionship, friendship, because love can come in friendships as well. But romantically, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't always been open to receiving love, because I felt that heartbreak was just around the corner. So I do thank Ronnie for even speaking up and telling us that, and just telling the story of her love. And it allows me to look at my parents' love story, my grandparents' love story, and just the sacrifices that they made in order for love to live, not even just within their relationships, but in the lineage that they have that is still here on this earth. And now that doesn't mean that slide in my DMs and try to do, no, that doesn't mean, this is not an open invitation for you to ask me out on a date. No. It is an open invitation for myself to, as I stated before, with the COVID and taking care of myself. It's an open invitation for myself to fall in love with myself again. And when I feel like that person is there, then I will be absolutely ready to receive the love that is for me. That was really hard to even tell my homies this afternoon, because I know that I'm not the only person, and I mean, guys feel this way too. I'm not the only person that feels like this. When I talk to my grandmother's, one of my grandmother's youngest sisters is still living, and on my paternal side, and she talked to me about, I remember I was at her house and I was asking her about losing her parents at such a young age. I believe she was 15 when their mother died. And she was a part of the Great Migration, so she moved to Michigan. She moved in with my grandmother. And she said, well, that wasn't the biggest heartbreak of my life. I'm like, what? Like your mother? That's your mother. She said, Ronnika, think about it. I had 15 years with my mother. I had over 70 years with my husband. She said, that's the greatest heartbreak of my life. I had never thought about it that way because I am a person that's lost a parent, but she said, no, that wasn't the biggest heartbreak. She said, and just think, this is a woman in her 90s. She said, when I called out for my husband that morning, because they were still living together, they were still mobile. She said, I called out for my husband that morning and he didn't answer. And she said, I went over there and I said, oh my God. She said, Jesus, don't tell me this man is dead. She said she called his name a couple times in just disbelief. Because she said he was acting a little weird earlier that day. She said he wouldn't sit down. He was like pacing the floor. But she said nothing could prepare me for that type of heartbreak. Nothing. So when I think of this love month and I reflect on me saying like, oh yeah, don't ever do anything for me around Valentine's Day. That's the day that the day before is my dad died, and I remember being in the funeral home on the day of Valentine's Day and preparing and making arrangements for his funeral. Don't ever try to make me celebrate Valentine's Day. Oh, but baby, I'm doing it a little differently now. Love resides differently in my heart. Love resides in me talking to family members like my aunt that talk about love in various ways. Not just family, but it's like, this was the love of my life. And, our elders will joke with us, but like, girl, don't get married. Don't do it. But it was in that instance that she was able to tell me what love looked like for her. So I'm going to tell you what love is going to look like for me. Love looks like supporting me in the moments when I don't want to support myself. Love is supporting me in the areas where I am weak. Love is listening with intent. Love is a warm hug on a cold day in Michigan. And my love right now resides in helping families find the missing leaves on their tree, on their family tree. And I'm believing, hey, hope anything is possible while I'm doing this journey, that love will knock at my door again. And this time I will be ready to receive. Now, y'all, I could have been all over the place with this episode. And we even had a few bloopers in between. But I'm here to tell you that love is out there. And listen, my girl Chrissy Berry is also reminding me of this too. Sometimes you have to move around, move out of your comfort zone in order to find that love. So as I'm over here not ready for bed yet, even though it's the color red, I'm not ready for bed yet because I'm believing and hoping that love is right around the corner because I'm willing to receive it. So you all, this concludes this episode of the Please Do Tell podcast. I am your homegirl, Ronnika, and more than anything, find you some Black History facts this month, but especially find some love and give it to. We'll see you next time.